Let's bring you more on our developing story tonight at Bree Street. Of course, as we've heard that there's a road that has collapsed due to an underground gas explosion. Iman, good evening to you. What do we know?
Good evening, Bongiwe. First, let me paint a picture for us. You've seen some of those visuals, but at least 3 blocks have been shut down. We understand that structural damage probably extends to about 4, maybe 5 blocks here in the Johannesburg CBD, starting at the bottom of Lillian and Goy and Loveday. It's completely abuzz with emergency vehicles. There's even an urban search and rescue team at JMPD, the fire department, police, ambulance services. It seems as if officials here are taking this quite seriously, Bongiwe, because we heard from someone, not a fish, they were in uniform, who said that they are trying to clear the area to within a 1 kilometre radius. And the reason they say is because there seems to be some chemical, effluent or substance in the air. And to be careful, they want to evacuate the area. That's the biggest feat, Bongiwe, because this area, a lot of us who live in Joburg have been to the CBD. There are residential blocks. It's a mixed living and residential area. And we spoke to some of the residents in the building who are making their own arrangements. And I guess the concern is, what is the level of risk and danger? The official that had spoken to us trying to evacuate people, mentioned Boksburg and said, this could be similar to what happened there. Now, we can't take that as the record until we hear officially from those who are conducting their preliminary investigations. But a lot is happening here in the Joburg CBD.
Iman, what do we know in terms of the injuries and some of the onlookers about what they witnessed?
So we've spoken to a few onlookers who were just going about their business as normal. One woman who lives in the building, actually, where there was a huge sort of sinkhole-looking like event where there were 1 or 2 vehicles that were overturned, said, she was going home to check on her children. This was after school, and she was taking care of them, and suddenly she heard this really loud, sort of like bang. And before she knew it, this had happened. And so they were very, very scared. But also, I suppose, their fears are heightened because there's not too much information that is available right now. So no major injuries from what we understand at this point. And from the hospitals in the area as well, it doesn't seem as if anyone has any major injuries, but there are some moderate injuries that have arrived in places like the Johannesburg Hospital, Charlotte Maxeke. So that's the view from here, Bongiwe. It seems as if the operational plan is developing by the minute. We've seen them retreat some of their vehicles, and maybe this is where a cordon is being taken seriously. All of those emergency services vehicles seem to be coming back down the street, in other words, away from where this event actually happened. So we're going to try and find out more about whether there is an imminent threat or danger. But as I say, some of the signs that we're seeing is that it's unknown, and we've got to take this as serious. They're also, interestingly, Bongiwe, my throat's quite dry, and Blaine, our EP, is there, also saying his throat is dry. I'm not sure if that's got anything to do with what's in the air.
All right, Iman, please stay safe, and we'll catch up with you just a little later on just to get a sense of what is going on the ground. I do believe we've got Joyful Gaju, Operations Manager at Rescue 786, who's joining us right now. Joyful, thank you so much for your time. What do you know about what happened?
From what I hear, ma'am, thanks for inviting us. From what I hear, apparently there was an explosion early on in the early hours of this evening. With multiple vehicles and multiple people getting injured.
Joyful? All right, it looks like we've lost Joyful, who is an operations manager there at Rescue 786. And as you hear from Iman there, it does sound like, there's quite a lot that is unfolding. And one might even suspect in this particular case that, the smell of gas will possibly linger around, in the air as, people then, really moving about, but also a lot of concern even about some of what is going on there on the ground and really trying to understand exactly what happened here. We understand there's been a gas explosion. At the same time, we, of course, are hearing about, issues around a taxi that would have been carrying 16 people, but we're not sure at this stage what exactly has happened there. Where were the occupants going to, and how many of them would have been possibly injured? We're hearing unconfirmed reports that around 4 people were in fact sent to hospital in this particular case. At the same time, we're still trying to figure out what is going on, because when it comes to the issues around, traffic diversions, you heard from the JMPD talk about just how the situation there is, unfolding, and it's chock-a-block. A lot of motorists are being diverted, and they're trying to make sure that they are keeping everyone as safe as they possibly can. Joyful, I do understand you're back on the line. You were telling us about what do you know?
All right. So from my understanding, there was an explosion earlier on, or some form of a fire underground, involving multiple vehicles, multiple patients getting injured in the whole incident. We only arrived here plus minus 30 minutes ago, and we've transported just 3 patients already to 2 to Hillbrook Clinic and 1 to Joburg Train.
And let's talk about those patients. What condition are they in? Are you able to describe to us some of the injuries?
Okay. Well, the first guy that I saw, he actually was directly hit by the explosion, but for some miracle reason, he managed to walk plus minus 2 to 3 blocks down. So I found him on the 6th Street, and he sustained a femur fracture, mid-shaft femur fracture. And then the other 2 ladies were complaining basically of just the environmental conditions. The air is quite thick here. People are complaining of headaches. People are complaining of dizziness. So we just transported them just to get checked out, as they say they were very close to the impact.
All right, Joyful, it seems like we're having a problem with that particular line there, as we're trying to get a sense of what's going on. But he does, of course, say that there have been some who've been transported to the hospital, and describing some of those injuries, saying that the smell of gas is still in the air. And of course, this might even make your throat dry and all of that. But we'll also try to reestablish, a connection even with the EMS, because they have, told us that they're looking to see what they can be able to gather as information in about an hour's time, to tell us about injuries, to tell us about what exactly is going on the ground in terms of who exactly is possibly in hospital. What do we know about the occupants of that taxi, that minibus taxi? But we'll also try to go back to Iman, who is also on the ground, just to paint a picture for us of what we are seeing there. We'll bring you more on this breaking news story. All right, I do believe that Joyful is back on the line. Joyful, thank you so much. And I understand, of course, it's mayhem there. So, your line just keeps on dropping. But you were still telling us about the smell of gas that continues to linger.
Definitely. There's definitely a smell of gas that's lingering around. You automatically just feel that you're feeling lightheaded, you're feeling slightly dizzy. One of my colleagues was actually just sent home right now. She's feeling very nauseous as well from the environmental the gas is smelling around in the air.
And how difficult does this make your work?
Technically, it does make it difficult because we are ground workers, we are fire workers. So if I can't breathe, I can't basically treat another person if I'm also being compromised. Unfortunately, we came to this incident blindsided. We weren't exactly aware if it's gas or is it a fire or is it an explosion. So there's minimal information given here. It's very hard to even locate where the incident commander is. The way it's so busy and there's so much mayhem around here on the scene.
And as you talk about, the mayhem and some of the difficulties that you're then experiencing at the scene, let's talk about whether or not you are still able to spot some people who possibly need medical assistance right now, or has that been taken care of?
Currently, right now, we're all relying on each other as the emergency services providers. We're all relying on who's got what available resources. Should we see someone that needs medical attention, we are going to attend to that person. I've got currently 4 units standing by on scene right now, with myself also. So hopefully we don't get any other further people that we need to support from now on.
All right, Joyful, thank you so much for that update today and just telling us what exactly is unfolding on the scene. That's Joyful Gaju, Operations Manager at Rescue 786.